Before we start, viewer discretion is highly recommended. This content is intended solely for entertainment and educational purposes. What follows is federal courtroom testimony, actual words spoken under oath on the fifth day of a trial that is now shaking the entire entertainment world to its core. Viewer discretion is strongly urged because what Cassie Ventura revealed about the secret tunnels beneath Sean Diddy Combs' Los Angeles mansion is not only dark but truly terrifying. Forget everything you believe about their relationship. This is about much more than music, money, or power. It involves something that was never meant to be exposed, until now. What took place beneath that mansion could explain everything the public never understood: the breakdowns, the disappearances, the silence. In just one word, Cassie changed it all. When asked if she had ever been inside the tunnels, her answer was simply yes. At that moment, the courtroom fell silent, completely frozen. Jurors leaned forward, reporters exchanged stunned looks. For years, rumors about Diddy's underground rooms had spread online, on Reddit, through anonymous claims, and wild gossip that no one believed. But now, what Cassie testified under oath didn't just confirm the whispers, it painted such a vivid and chilling picture that even the prosecution reportedly needed a break to compose themselves. She described the entrance as hidden outside the house, behind foliage near the pool, camouflaged to blend into the landscape, a simple slope covering a hatch. Once inside, everything changed. She spoke of cold concrete stairs, steel doors, and a silence so unnatural it seemed deliberately created. The further they went, the more it felt like a facility rather than a home: fluorescent lights, winding corridors, mechanical buzzing sounds, no windows, and no phone signal. Diddy walked ahead, mumbling to himself about proving a point. Cassie wanted to turn back but chose to continue. What she discovered would stay with her forever. The first room they entered was not just unsettling, it was profoundly wrong. Red lighting, leather furniture, cameras in the corners, and a mix of chemical smells, sweat, and something else indescribable filled the air. She detailed the contents: shelves lined with masks, ropes, oils, latex suits, clothing racks filled with unworn garments, mirrors on the floor and ceiling, and walls padded for soundproofing. It became crystal clear to her that this wasn't a room for fantasy or pleasure, it was about domination, control, and power that extended beyond when the lights went off. When the defense pressed, asking if she had ever seen anyone else down there, she paused but then confirmed yes. 2 women were present, one lying completely still on a couch, the other sitting beside a tripod-mounted camera, both wearing wigs and full face masks. Diddy called them performers, but Cassie was never introduced. "I didn't want to stay," she said. "I made an excuse that I felt sick." Upstairs, she locked herself in a bedroom, but hours later, Diddy came after her with a warning: "You never saw anything. You don't repeat anything. That place is for me, not for you." It was the first and last time she entered the tunnels, but the memory would haunt her forever. And if you think that was all, think again. When asked to describe the layout, she revealed there was more than one room, 3 additional spaces. One had chains on the walls and no lights, just a bench in the center. Another had a digital panel beside a bed. She said she didn't know what it controlled. There was a third thing, a chair and a box of wires. That's when she told him she wanted to leave. He just laughed and said 5 words that made the courtroom go silent: "You're not ready for this." But what scared her the most wasn't the lights, the props, or the masked women. It was what he said next, just before opening the last door. He looked her straight in the eye and whispered, "This is where I bring the ones I own." That's the end of section 1, and trust me, you don't want to see what's next. Cassie felt every part of her body urging her to run. Her instincts screamed. Her breath caught in her throat, but she couldn't move. Maybe it was fear. Maybe shock. Or the terrifying truth that she was now deeper in Diddy's world than she ever wanted to be. The phrase "this is where I bring the ones I own" haunted her like a curse. When he opened the final door, she didn't step inside. She only looked. She heard a strange hum, like a speaker playing distorted sound. At first, she thought it was music. Then she realized it wasn't, it was voices. Muffled, layered, real voices. She couldn't make out the words, but she knew there were people behind a wall or some kind of barrier. She didn't want to find out more. She turned and backed away. That's when she noticed a smell clinging to her clothes. She didn't know exactly what it was, chemical, stale, heavy, but it stayed with her, even after she got upstairs, locked the door, and tried to wash it off. I smelled like that place for hours, she said. It just wouldn't come off. She never went back to the tunnel, but the memory stayed with her. In court, she admitted she hadn't told anyone, not friends, family, or even her therapist, because she didn't want to disappear. That's how it felt, like talking about it would make her vanish. The most chilling part was how calmly she said it, with a hollow tone, as if she had repeated those words countless times in her head but never had the chance to say them out loud, until now. The courtroom fell silent. Nobody moved, not the jury, the judge, or even the defense, who used to be confident and aggressive. Then the prosecution asked her a simple question: why speak now? Cassie didn't hesitate. Because it's not just about me anymore. Because he's still doing this. And if another girl goes into that tunnel and never comes out, her voice broke for the first time. No one interrupted her, not even the judge, because what she said wasn't just evidence. It was a warning. And it worked. The room felt different, as if her words had pulled something dark to the surface that no one could ignore. The defense wasn't finished. They tried to change the subject, pushing the idea of freak-offs, a term already in tabloids and messages. They said these were consensual, playful, and planned. But Cassie's explanation was starkly different. They were never playful. They were scheduled, scripted, sometimes spontaneous, but always controlled. She explained that Diddy would assign roles, give instructions, and demand specific costumes. The drugs were not optional, and true consent didn't exist. He would say, "This is what we're doing tonight. Take this, wear this, be this." She testified that group encounters usually took place, often filmed, with some guests wearing masks while others did not. Often, she didn't even know their names. Sometimes these events happened in hotels, sometimes in homes, and occasionally deep inside that tunnel. The courtroom grew colder as she recounted one particular night, wearing a latex suit, a strict demand for silence, and a room full of strangers. "I was told I'd be punished if I broke character," she said. "He told me to trust him. I didn't even know who was watching." When asked why she kept participating, Cassie gave a brutally honest answer: "I was always high." He made sure of that. The prosecution inquired about the substances she was given. Without hesitation, she named opiates, MDMA, and benzodiazepine pills, though she didn't specify all of them. "He would hand me something and say, 'Take this, it'll help you relax.' But it just made me foggy, slow, and obedient." One night, she woke up on the floor of his Miami estate, the camera light still on, with no memory of how she had gotten there. "I don't know who was in the room or what happened. But when I woke up, I couldn't stop crying." It was then that she realized something terrifying: Diddy was keeping footage, video clips saved and stored. "He told me, 'You're mine forever now.' I thought he meant it emotionally, but I didn't realize he meant he had proof and leverage over me." The defense tried to challenge her again, asking if she had ever seen any of the videos herself. Cassie nodded slowly. "Once, on his laptop. It was me and two men. I don't remember it happening," she said. She begged him to delete it, but he replied, "I keep everything. It's insurance." The jury looked visibly shaken. The judge called for a 5-minute recess, but the silence in the courtroom spoke volumes. Cassie wasn't just sharing her story, she was exposing a dark empire. And this was only the beginning. When the courtroom reconvened, the atmosphere had changed. Reporters no longer wrote eagerly but stared blankly, trying to process what they'd heard. Jurors looked less like observers and more like survivors, weighed down by the testimony. Cassie remained still, sitting upright with her hands folded, her face unreadable. When the prosecution resumed, they wasted no time. "Did Mr. Combs ever physically assault you?" the prosecutor asked. Cassie looked down, a long silence filling the courtroom before she finally answered, "Yes. Many times." The words hit hard, and from that moment, the facade fell away. This was no longer about power games, it was about bruises, blood, and pain. She described the first incident, a night when he grabbed her wrist so tightly she couldn't use her hand for days. Then there was a push against the wall during an argument, which escalated into slaps, slams, and kicks. He always apologized afterward, she said. He always cried and promised it would never happen again, but it always did. She rolled up her sleeve in court to reveal a scar, prompting gasps from the courtroom. The prosecution presented photos, some already public, others never before seen. One showed a gash above her eyebrow from a night she came home late. "I had gone to dinner with a friend. He thought I was cheating. I wasn't," she said. "He screamed, threw my phone, and slammed my face against the floor. I woke up on the cold bathroom tiles." The defense shifted uncomfortably but said nothing, as there was no response to give. Then she recounted a moment that visibly unsettled the jurors. "He kicked me in the back so hard I couldn't breathe," she said. "It happened after he saw a message from someone he disliked." The courtroom fell silent until the prosecutor asked who it was. Cassie hesitated before replying, "Kid Cudi." A wave of reaction passed through the gallery. Though Diddy was known for jealousy, this went beyond that, she explained. Even after their breakup, he continued to bring up Cudi's name to justify his angry outbursts. He never let it go. The accusations and punishments persisted for years. Whenever Cassie tried to leave, he sent threats through mutual friends, veiled in casual phrases. He'd say things like, "You really want to throw it all away, or remember what I have on you?" She admitted she was too scared to go to the police because she didn't think anyone would believe her. He held power she didn't. Then she revealed something that shifted the entire room. It drew visible reactions from the judge, the prosecution, and even brought a tear to one juror's eye. "After one of the worst nights," she said, "he threw me off a boat. The room grew cold. They were in the Caribbean. He called her dead weight. She swam to shore. He didn't follow, but she went back anyway." That moment marked a turning point. The courtroom's emotional walls began to crumble. This was no longer just a tale of secrets, tunnels, and hidden cameras. It was the story of a woman so mentally, emotionally, and physically broken that she believed nearly drowning was preferable to being alone. Cassie fell silent after sharing that, wiping a tear with the back of her hand. No one spoke. The prosecution then moved to the night that changed everything, at the Intercontinental Hotel. This wasn't a rumor or tabloid gossip, it was the night whispered about for years without knowing the truth. "It was the night before my movie premiere," she said. "I wanted to celebrate. He had other plans." Diddy reportedly insisted that every major event needed one of their special nights. She refused, but he persisted. "I just wanted peace," she said. "I didn't want to argue before walking the red carpet." Eventually, she gave in. She arrived expecting it to be just the two of them, but there were already others in the room, 2 women, a male dancer, candles, cameras, and a pill. He handed it to her, saying, "It'll help you loosen up." Exhausted, she took it. She remembered flashes, costumes, masks, his phone, her reflection in the mirror, slurred words she couldn't recall saying. Then, nothing. She woke up alone. Her phone had a message from him, "You were amazing. I'm proud." She didn't understand it, but she still walked the red carpet. She smiled, hiding the bruises beneath her dress. The prosecution then revealed a final text from Diddy that morning, still glowing, ready for the after-party. She never replied. "That night broke me," she said. "It wasn't just another freakout, it was the breaking point." The next day, she flew to New York alone. He didn't follow. For the first time in years, she felt like she could breathe. That was when she began piecing together the nights she couldn't remember and the people involved. She barely held back the silence, and that's when she realized she had to speak, not only for herself but for others. Because she wasn't the only one, she said. Far from it. The courtroom was already heavy with tension, but when Cassie looked up again, there was a new tone in her voice, not just pain or fear, but urgency. The story was no longer just hers. The prosecutor leaned forward and asked, "Were you the only woman he treated this way?" Cassie didn't hesitate. "No," she replied quietly, "not even close." That response shifted the entire course of the trial. What started as one woman's heartbreaking testimony turned into a glimpse of something larger, something systemic. She explained that during several freak-offs, as Diddy called them, other women were brought in. Sometimes they were escorts, sometimes strangers. Sometimes they arrived already crying, other times wearing masks. "I didn't ask questions. I was too afraid," she said. She described how these women were driven in black cars, often alone, sometimes with smeared makeup. "You could tell some didn't want to be there," she whispered. Yet no one spoke up. Everyone just played their part. Then she named Tiffany Red, a former friend and artist who had once publicly spoken out in an open letter that was buried beneath headlines. "Tiffany had witnessed some things," Cassie said. "She was at my 29th birthday and told me it wasn't right. She urged me to leave. But I didn't listen. I wasn't ready. I didn't want to admit it was abuse." That letter, written years earlier and published in Rolling Stone, re-emerged in court as powerful evidence. But it wasn't only the guests, it was the staff too, the assistants, drivers, handlers, all complicit. Cassie said they knew when women were arriving and cleaned up afterward. She recalled catching an assistant entering her room without knocking. He didn't react, he just said, "Sorry, boss," and left. That was when she realized her privacy was an illusion. It never truly existed. Everything was monitored and controlled. The prosecution pressed her, "Did you ever feel safe in the house?" She laughed, not out of humor, but because the question was absurd. "Safe? I never felt safe. I was always being watched, like a prisoner with Wi-Fi." She confessed she tried to escape once, checking into a luxury rehab in Arizona disguised as a spa. "I told them I needed help, that I couldn't stop using, that I was scared. But Diddy found out, showed up, and told them I was exaggerating. I left the next day." She made multiple attempts to quit using pills and regain control, but failed. While under his roof, he cut her off from everything, friends, family, even drugs, not to help, but to keep her dependent. Then she paused and took a breath. That was his plan, to build a world where only he could reach her. The courtroom fell silent, the kind of silence that comes when everyone is too shocked to speak. Then the prosecution asked the question that carried the weight of the entire trial, "Was any of this ever recorded?" Cassie looked up slowly. "Yes," she said. "He recorded everything." At first, she thought the cameras were just for personal use. There was a twisted thrill, but then she discovered something on his laptop, a clip involving her and two men. She didn't recall it happening and begged him to delete it. He refused, saying, "I keep everything for leverage." The jury visibly flinched, even the judge appeared shaken. That was when everything fell into place, the secrecy, the paranoia, the silence from everyone who had ever been inside that mansion. No one wanted to be next. No one wanted those tapes to come to light. "He made us feel that if we spoke up, our lives would be ruined," Cassie said, and we believed him. But she went further. She named another assistant, someone who used to deliver messages and organize outfits. "He once gave me a folder with the night's lineup," she explained, as if it were a business schedule, names, costumes, scripts. At the top, it read "Freak Schedule." The courtroom recoiled, and for the first time, a juror wiped away a tear. But Cassie didn't cry, not anymore, because this was more than testimony. This was her reckoning. "I wasn't just his girlfriend," she said. "I was a product, a possession, something he could shape, move, use, and store." When asked why she finally spoke out, she said it wasn't one moment but many, seeing other girls brought in, hearing their cries, watching the staff pretend not to notice, realizing he had footage of everything, and that maybe I wasn't the only one scared of disappearing. Then she looked straight at the jury. "I thought staying silent would protect me," she said, "but now I know it only protected him." That line was quoted in every major news outlet the next day, screenshots, headlines, TikToks, viral sound bites. But in that courtroom, no one was thinking about social media. They were wondering how something like this could go on for years, unchecked, because everyone was too scared, too complicit, or too bought off to care. Cassie had broken the silence, and the walls began to crumble. Just when the courtroom thought it had heard the worst, that nothing could be darker than hidden tunnels, masked strangers, and a house built to silence, Cassie said something that stole the breath from the room. "After one terrible night," she whispered, "he threw me off a boat." The courtroom fell silent. No one moved, not even the judge. "We were in the Caribbean," she said. "He said I was dead weight, then pushed me overboard." She described the waves swallowing her, her clothes soaked and sticking, the taste of soap and salt in her mouth. "I thought I was going to die." She swam to shore alone. No one came after her, no one checked, no one asked. And the next day, she went back to him because, as she said, she had nowhere else to go. That was when the jury cracked. One juror gasped loudly, another covered her mouth. The silence wasn't only emotional, it was physical, heavy, and pressing down on the room. Cassie wasn't done. "After that night, I stopped being a person," she said. "I became a role, something he could direct." Then she recounted the very last time she saw him. "It was the night of my movie premiere. I wanted to celebrate, to feel proud. But he had other plans," she said. "He told her tradition meant they had to spend the night together, his way." "One more freak off," I said. "No." He kept insisting. He said, "You owe me this." She eventually gave in. When she arrived at the Intercontinental, she expected privacy, but the room was already occupied by two women, a male dancer, candles, and a camera. She was handed a pill and took it. I recall a flash in a mirror, a dancer wearing a mask, his phone pointed at me, and then nothing. She woke up alone, drenched in sweat. He had sent her a text saying, "You were amazing. I'm proud." She didn't reply. That morning, she walked the red carpet wearing a smile and a dress that concealed her bruises. That was the breaking point. The next day, she packed her bags and flew to New York alone for the first time in 10 years. From then on, I could finally breathe. The story changed. Cassie started therapy. Gradually, memories resurfaced, the fragments, the flashes, the footage. She filed a civil lawsuit, not seeking money but documentation. I needed something to prove I wasn't crazy, that it really happened. The lawsuit opened the floodgates. Other women came forward with anonymous complaints and whispered confessions. Then came the FBI raid. Agents stormed DIDDY'S property. The evidence seized remained sealed, but sources say it included surveillance equipment, digital files, and blueprints for underground tunnels. Cassie declined all interviews. "I didn't want to become a brand, I just wanted freedom." But under oath in federal court, she revealed everything. She wasn't merely testifying, she was dismantling a legacy built on control. When asked by the prosecution, "What do you want from all this?" she replied without hesitation, "Accountability, not just for me, but for every woman who went into that house and never came out the same." After she finished, the judge dismissed the court. Cameras weren't allowed inside, but everyone who left that day looked different, pale, quiet, changed. Cassie Ventura had ripped the veil off a machine guarded by money, fame, and silence. No matter how powerful the opposition, it had finally met something stronger, the truth. Now, I want to ask you, do you believe justice will be served? Should those who stayed silent also be held responsible? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this story shocked you, share it, someone needs to hear it. And if you believe Cassie's bravery matters, hit like, subscribe for more real stories like this, and tell us where you're watching from. Because truth like this doesn't just trend, it changes things.